When the mate bond ignites with a married alpha, destiny becomes a curse. Lyra must hide her connection to the one man she can never have, while enemies from her past close in, hunting the bloodline she's kept secret. In a world where duty rules and tradition is law, some bonds are forbidden, and some loves could destroy kingdoms. Hey there, beautiful souls! Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into this gut-wrenching tale of forbidden destiny, I need to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments. How's everyone doing today? And listen, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, do it now. You're about to experience a love story that will tear your heart apart and put it back together in ways you never expected. Trust me, you don't want to miss a single moment. Now, let's begin. The mate bond hit Lyra like lightning the moment she crossed into Ashfall territory. She was still 50 yards from the pack house, still hidden among the pine trees that bordered the compound, when it struck, a pull so visceral, so absolute, that her knees buckled and she had to grab a tree trunk to stay upright. No. Her wolf surged forward, ecstatic, recognizing something Lyra's mind refused to accept. Somewhere in that massive stone structure ahead, her mate was waiting. The other half of her soul. The one person in the entire world the moon goddess had chosen specifically for her. And she hadn't even met him yet. Lyra forced herself to breathe, to push her wolf back down, to function despite the overwhelming need to run toward that pull, to find him, to complete the bond that was already singing through her veins. You all right? Marcus, the beta who'd escorted her from the border, looked back with concern. You look pale. Fine. The lie tasted like ash. Just nervous. New pack, new start. Nothing to worry about. Marcus's smile was genuine, his weathered face kind. Alpha Kael runs a good pack. Fair. Strong. You'll be safe here, Lyra. Whatever you're running from, it can't touch you under Ashfall protection. Safe. The word was a cruel joke. Because as they approached the pack house and the bond grew stronger, as Lyra's wolf went from excited to frantic, she realized with dawning horror exactly who her mate was. Alpha Kael. The most powerful wolf in 5 territories. The leader who'd united 3 rival packs under his rule. The alpha whose reputation for strength and honor was legendary. The alpha who was married. Lyra had done her research before accepting the Ashfall Pack's offer of sanctuary. She knew about Luna Seraphine, beautiful, politically connected, daughter of the Silvermoon Alpha. The marriage had been arranged 5 years ago to end a blood feud that had killed hundreds. It was a union of duty, not love, but it was binding under pack law. Unbreakable. And now the moon goddess had decided to make Lyra his mate anyway. Here we go. Marcus opened the massive oak doors. Welcome to Ashfall. The great hall was everything Lyra had imagined, soaring ceilings, stone walls covered in ancient pack tapestries, a fireplace large enough to roast a whole deer. Pack members moved through the space with easy confidence, their wolves comfortable in their home territory. And at the far end of the hall, standing beside a throne-like chair carved from a single piece of dark wood, was him. Alpha Kael. Lyra's breath stopped. He was taller than she'd expected, easily 6.5 feet of pure muscle and predatory grace. Dark hair touched his shoulders, framing a face that was all sharp angles and raw masculine beauty. But it was his eyes that captured her, deep amber, like whiskey caught in firelight, currently focused on a document he was reviewing. Then he looked up. Their eyes met across the crowded hall, and the mate bond exploded. Lyra felt it in her soul, the recognition, the completion, the absolute certainty that this man was hers and she was his. She saw his pupils dilate, saw him go absolutely still, saw the document slip from his fingers as shock rippled across his features. He felt it too. For one suspended moment, the entire world narrowed to just the two of them. Lyra felt her wolf howling with joy, felt every nerve in her body screaming at her to go to him, to touch him, to complete what the goddess had started. Then a woman appeared at Kael's side, and reality crashed back. Luna Seraphine was breathtaking, tall and elegant, with platinum blonde hair that cascaded down her back and ice blue eyes that assessed Lyra with cool calculation. She placed a proprietary hand on Kael's arm, and Lyra felt physical pain lance through her chest at the contact. Mine, her wolf snarled. Get away from him. He's mine. But he wasn't. He was Seraphine's. by law, by tradition, by a marriage that had brought peace to 3 packs. Marcus. Kael's voice was deeper than Lyra had imagined, rougher, as if something was choking him. Who is this? Lyra Ashwood, Alpha. The refuge case we discussed last week. Marcus gestured Lyra forward. She requested sanctuary, and the council approved her application. Lyra forced herself to move, to walk toward the Alpha and his Luna, every step agony as the mate bond screamed at her to run the other direction. To hide. To protect herself from the pain of standing this close to her mate while another woman touched him. Lyra Ashwood. Kael repeated her name like he was tasting it, testing it. His amber eyes never left her face. What are you running from? Enemies, Alpha. Lyra kept her voice steady through sheer force of will. People who want something I can't give them. And what's that? My bloodline. The partial truth was easier than the full one. I'm the last of my family. They want to force a mating to claim what's left of our territory. It wasn't entirely a lie. There were wolves hunting her, wolves who knew what her bloodline really meant. But that was a secret she'd die before revealing. Seraphine's eyes narrowed. Ashwood. I don't recognize that family name. We kept to ourselves, Lyra said. Small pack, old bloodlines, no political connections. No connections, but enemies powerful enough to require Ashfall protection? Seraphine's tone was skeptical. That seems inconsistent. My wife raises a good point. Kael's voice was carefully controlled, but Lyra heard the strain beneath it. Heard the same struggle she was fighting to keep his wolf in check. Perhaps you could be more specific about these enemies? Lyra met his eyes and saw the plea there. Give me a reason to send you away. Give me an excuse to protect us both from this impossible situation. She should do it. Should lie, should fail whatever test this was, should run before the bond grew stronger and became impossible to ignore. But then she caught a scent from the corridor behind the Alpha's chair, sulfur and rot and something ancient. A scent she'd been running from for 2 years. A scent that meant her enemies had found her. Alpha, she said urgently, we need to clear this hall. Now. Kael's expression sharpened. Why? Because there's a shade walker in your pack house, and if we don't evacuate immediately, people are going to die. The words had barely left her mouth when the screaming started. Chaos erupted. Wolves scattered as a creature materialized from the shadows near the eastern corridor, humanoid but wrong, its body flickering between solid and smoke, eyes burning red with ancient hunger. A shadewalker, a creature most modern wolves believed was extinct, killed off centuries ago by the first Alphas. But Lyra knew better. She'd been running from them for 2 years. Protect the Luna. Kael's command cracked through the panic as he shifted, his transformation impossibly fast. His wolf was massive, midnight black with those same amber eyes, radiating alpha power that made every wolf in the hall instinctively submit. Except Lyra. The mate bond meant his dominance washed over her like water, unable to force her compliance. She stood frozen, watching as Kael charged the Shadewalker. As pack warriors shifted and joined him, a Seraphine was hustled away by guards. Lyra, move. Marcus grabbed her arm, trying to pull her toward the exit. But she couldn't move. Because she knew what none of them did, you couldn't kill a Shadewalker with teeth and claws. Physical attacks would pass right through it. The creature was hunting her, and it would tear through every wolf in this pack house to reach her. Unless she gave it what it wanted. Let me go. Lyra pulled free from Marcus, her voice cold with the authority her bloodline had given her. Authority she'd spent years hiding. I can stop this. You're not trained for combat. You need to evacuate with the others. I'm the only one who can end this. Lyra stepped forward, raising her voice. Shadewalker. You came for me. Here I am. The creature's red eyes snapped to her, and it stopped fighting the wolves, their attacks passing harmlessly through its smoky form. When it spoke, its voice was like grinding stones, ancient and terrible. Daughter of the Veil. We have searched long for you. The hall went silent except for growling wolves. Lyra felt every eye turn to her, felt Kael's shock and fury through the mate bond that connected them whether they wanted it or not. I won't go with you, Lyra said. And I won't let you hurt these wolves. Then they die. The Shadewalker raised a clawed hand, and darkness spread from its form like poison, reaching for the nearest pack member. Lyra closed her eyes and called to the power she'd been suppressing since she was 16. The power that marked her as the last of her bloodline, the last of a family that could walk between worlds, that could touch death itself and survive. Light erupted from her hands, pure silver radiance that made the Shadewalker shriek and recoil. The darkness it had summoned dissolved like smoke in sunlight. Impossible, the creature hissed. You have not awakened. You should not have this power yet. Surprise. Lyra pushed more energy into the light, feeling it burn through her veins like liquid fire. Now leave, or I'll send you back to the Veil permanently. The Shadewalker studied her with those burning eyes. This is not over, daughter. They will come for you. And when they do, no Alpha's protection will save you. Not even his. Its gaze flicked to Kael. Especially not his. Then it dissolved into shadows and was gone. Lyra collapsed, the power draining from her as quickly as it had come. Strong arms caught her before she hit the ground, and she found herself cradled against Kael's chest, his human form returned, his skin warm against hers. The mate bond sang with the contact, and Lyra had to fight not to bury her face in his neck, not to breathe in his scent of pine and smoke and something uniquely him. What are you? Kael's voice was rough, his arms tightening around her despite the inappropriateness of holding another woman while his wife watched. Complicated, Lyra whispered. That was veil magic. The new voice was sharp, educated. An older woman pushed through the crowd, her silver hair marking her as an elder. Magic that hasn't been seen in this world for 300 years. Magic that died with the Shadowborn line. Clearly it didn't die, Seraphine said coldly. She'd returned despite the danger, her ice-blue eyes fixed on Lyra with open hostility. She's Shadowborn. The bloodline that nearly destroyed the wolf kingdoms. That's not fair. Lyra tried to push out of Kael's arms, but he held her firm. My ancestors made mistakes, but I'm not them. Your ancestors opened portals to the Veil and let Shadewalkers into our world, the elder said. Thousands died before the first Alphas managed to close the rifts and kill the Shadowborn line. Or so we thought. They didn't kill everyone. Lyra finally managed to stand on her own legs, though Kael kept one hand on her arm as if afraid she'd collapse again. My great-grandmother survived. She hid, changed her name, suppressed her powers. She taught my grandmother to do the same, who taught my mother, who taught me. She met the elder's eyes. We've spent 3 centuries trying to atone for what our ancestors did. By hiding? Seraphine's voice dripped scorn. How noble. By surviving. Lyra's voice hardened. The Shadewalkers have been hunting us since the rifts closed. They want someone with Shadowborn blood to open the portals again, to let them flood this world. Every generation, they find us. Every generation, most of my family dies fighting them off. I'm the last one left. Why didn't you mention this when you applied for sanctuary? Marcus asked, his earlier kindness replaced with wariness. Would you have let me in if I had? Lyra looked around at the hostile faces. Would any pack welcome the last Shadowborn, knowing what that bloodline represents? No, Kael said flatly. They wouldn't. I wouldn't have. His amber eyes bore into hers. But you're here now. And that Shadewalker marked my pack house, threatened my wolves, caused chaos in my territory because of you. I'm sorry. Lyra tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. I'll leave. Right now. I'll lead them away from Ashfall. You'll do no such thing. The command in his voice was pure alpha, brooking no argument. You're under my protection now. That creature threatened you on my land, which means it threatened me. And I don't back down from threats. You don't understand what you're offering to fight, Lyra said desperately. The Shadewalkers aren't just monsters. They're organized, intelligent, and they have allies in this world. Wolves who want to see the rifts opened, who think they can control what comes through. Then we'll fight them. Kael's voice was absolute. Together. You can't. Lyra looked at Seraphine, saw the fury and something else in her eyes. Suspicion. You have a pack to protect. A wife to consider. Political alliances that matter more than one refugee's problems. Don't tell me what I can and cannot do in my own territory, Kael growled. Perhaps, Seraphine said, her voice like ice cutting through steel, we should discuss this in private. All of us. Her gaze swept from Kael to Lyra and back. There are matters here that go beyond shade walkers and ancient bloodlines. She knew. Somehow, Seraphine knew about the mate bond. The Luna turned and walked toward the Alpha's private study, her spine straight, every inch the political wolf who'd brokered peace between rival packs. Coming, husband? Or are you too busy holding our new refugee to attend to pack business? The barb hit its mark. Kael released Lyra immediately, stepping back as if burned. But the mate bond stretched between them, visible to Lyra's shadowborn senses as a silver thread connecting their souls. A thread that Seraphine couldn't see but clearly suspected. Marcus, clear the hall, Kael ordered. Double the guards on all entrances. No one enters or leaves without my permission. He looked at Lyra, and the longing in his eyes was almost worse than his rejection. You. With me. Now. He followed Seraphine toward the study, leaving Lyra with no choice but to follow. As she walked, she felt the weight of hostile stares from the pack members who remained. Felt their fear, their distrust, their anger that she'd brought danger to their home. But worse than all of that was the weight of Kael's internal struggle, bleeding through the mate bond. The way his wolf was howling for her even as his human mind pushed her away. The way every step he took beside his wife was agony because his soul recognized that the wrong woman walked at his side. Lyra had known the mate bond would be painful. She hadn't known it would be torture. And they hadn't even been alone together yet. The study door closed behind them with a finality that felt like a prison cell locking. Kael moved to stand beside his wife, a united front, while Lyra remained near the door. Ready to run. Ready to break her own heart before it shattered completely. Now, Seraphine said, her ice blue eyes calculating. Let's discuss the real problem here. Not the Shadewalkers. Not your bloodline. But the bond one can see eating both of you alive every second you're in the same room. Kael's face went carefully blank. I don't know what you mean. Don't insult my intelligence. Seraphine's laugh was bitter. I've been your wife for 5 years. I know every expression, every tell. And right now, you're looking at that girl like she's your salvation and your destruction wrapped in one package. Her voice dropped. She's your mate, isn't she? The silence that followed was answer enough. Yes. Kael's voice was raw, the single word seeming to cost him everything. She's my mate. Lyra's breath caught. She'd expected denial, expected him to protect his marriage, his position, his carefully constructed political alliance. Instead, he'd given Seraphine the truth within seconds of being asked. Seraphine closed her eyes briefly, her perfect composure cracking just enough to show pain beneath. I knew it. The moment you looked at her in the hall, I knew. When she opened her eyes again, they glistened with unshed tears. 5 years, Kael. 5 years of trying to build something between us. And the moon goddess decides now is the perfect time to give you what I never could be. Seraphine. Kael reached for her, but she stepped back. Don't touch me. Not when you've been fighting the urge to go to her since the moment she walked through our doors. Seraphine's voice was steady despite the tears. I may be a political wife, but I'm not blind. And I'm not cruel enough to pretend I don't see what this is doing to both of you. I won't act on it, Kael said firmly. The mate bond doesn't change our marriage. Doesn't change the peace treaty your father and I signed. Doesn't change my duty to you, to this pack, to the alliances we've built. Noble. Seraphine turned to Lyra, her expression unreadable. And you? Are you prepared to spend however long you're here watching your mate sleep beside another woman? Watching him perform the role of devoted husband while your soul screams for completion? Lyra's throat was tight. I'll leave. Tonight. I'll take the Shadewalkers with me and spare you all this pain. You'll do no such thing, Kael said, his alpha command bleeding through. I already told you, you're under my protection. Your protection is killing all of us. Lyra's voice rose. Can't you feel it? The bond pulling tighter every second we're in the same room? It's going to destroy me. It's probably destroying you too. And it's certainly destroying your marriage. My marriage was destroyed long before you arrived, Seraphine said quietly. We were playing at being husband and wife, performing for the packs, maintaining appearances. But there's been no love between us, Kael. You know that as well as I do. Affection, then. Respect. Friendship. Kael's hands clenched into fists. That's more than most political marriages have. That's worth protecting. Is it worth her life? Seraphine gestured to Lyra. Because that's what's at stake here. The Shadewalkers will keep coming. They'll attack this pack, kill our wolves, destroy everything we've built, all to get to her. And you want her to stay? I want her safe. Kael's voice was rough with emotion he was fighting to contain. The Shadewalkers will hunt her regardless of where she goes. At least here, she has protection. Warriors. Resources. She has you, Seraphine corrected. That's what you really mean. You can't let her leave because your wolf won't allow it. Because the mate bond is already so strong that separation would cripple you both. The accusation hung in the air. Lyra wanted to deny it, but she couldn't. Because Seraphine was right. The thought of leaving, of putting distance between herself and Kael, made her physically ill. Made her wolf howl with distress and her chest ache with a pain that had nothing to do with her injuries. So what do we do? Kael asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I can't reject her. Rejecting a mate bond is forbidden by the moon goddess herself. It would kill us both slowly, drive us mad. But I can't claim her either. Not while I'm married to you. Not while our union holds 3 packs in alliance. There is a third option, Seraphine said carefully. One that pack law allows, though it's rarely invoked. What option? Lyra asked, though part of her dreaded the answer. A trial marriage. 3 months where you live in the pack house as a potential second mate. Seraphine's voice was clinical, detached, as if discussing strategy rather than her husband potentially taking another woman. During that time, we observe whether you can integrate into the pack, whether you can handle the politics of being mated to an alpha, whether your presence truly enhances our strength or merely complicates it. I won't share him, Lyra said immediately. I can't. The mate bond won't allow it. You wouldn't be sharing him. Seraphine's smile was bitter. There's nothing between Kael and me to share. No physical intimacy, no romantic love. We sleep in separate bedrooms, attend functions together, maintain appearances. That's all our marriage has been for years. Kael flinched at the words, but he didn't deny them. But the law, Lyra said. Pack tradition. Taking a second mate while the first marriage still stands is complicated, but legal, Seraphine finished. Especially when the first marriage was political rather than a true mate bond. And especially when the second woman is the alpha's actual goddess-chosen mate. She looked at Kael. Your father did it. Your grandfather did it. It's not common, but it's not forbidden either. My father's second mate caused a civil war, Kael said flatly. Half the pack supported her, half supported my mother. It took years to heal that division. Then we'll be smarter about it. Seraphine moved to the window, staring out at the packlands. We'll present Lyra as a political alliance too. A shadow born under our protection, her ancient magic an asset to the pack's defenses. The mate bond can remain hidden, at least initially. Let the pack grow accustomed to her presence before revealing the full truth. You're asking them to lie, Lyra said. To hide what they are to each other. I'm asking them to be strategic. Seraphine turned back, and the political mastermind who negotiated peace between warring packs was fully visible now. The alternative is chaos, Kael rejecting me publicly, breaking our alliance, potentially reigniting the conflicts that killed hundreds before our marriage. Or worse, Kael rejecting you, condemning you both to a slow death as the mate bond destroys you from within. There has to be another way, Kael said. There isn't. Seraphine's voice was absolute. I've spent 5 years studying pack law, political precedent, every possible angle. This is the only path that keeps everyone alive and the packs united. She looked at Lyra. But it requires your cooperation. It requires you to be patient, to play the political game, to accept that you'll be second in public even if you're first in Kael's heart. I don't want to be anyone's political pawn, Lyra said. None of us do. But here we are. Seraphine's expression softened slightly. I don't hate you, Lyra. How could I? You didn't choose this any more than I chose to be a treaty bride. The moon goddess made these decisions, and we're all just trying to survive them. A knock at the door interrupted whatever Lyra might have said. Marcus entered, his face grim. Alpha, we have a problem. A messenger just arrived from the Silvermoon Pack. Seraphine's father wants her home immediately. He's heard about the Shade Walker attack and believes Ashfall is no longer safe. Convenient timing, Kael said, his voice hard with suspicion. He hears about an attack that happened less than an hour ago and already has a messenger at our door? He had eyes here, Seraphine said quietly. Of course he did. My father always has eyes everywhere. She straightened her spine. I'll need to return home. Refuse his summons, and he'll see it as an insult. See it as Ashfall failing to protect his daughter. You're not going anywhere, Kael said. I have to. This is exactly the kind of political complication I warned you about. Seraphine looked at Lyra. My father knows about mate bonds. He'll sense the shift in pack dynamics, will investigate until he uncovers the truth. And when he does, he'll use it as leverage to dissolve our marriage and reclaim the territories I brought to this alliance. Unless, Marcus said slowly, we give him a reason to believe the marriage is stronger than ever. Show him that Ashfall can protect his daughter from threats even as powerful as Shade Walkers. How? Seraphine asked. Marcus looked at Lyra. By having the Shadowborn demonstrate her power publicly. Show Silvermoon that she's an asset, not a liability. That her presence makes Ashfall stronger, not weaker. That's dangerous, Kael said. It reveals what she is to everyone. They already know, Lyra said quietly. The entire pack saw what happened in the hall. Trying to hide my bloodline now would be pointless. She met Kael's eyes. And if demonstrating my power keeps your political alliances intact, if it protects Seraphine and prevents war, then I'll do it. You don't owe us anything, Kael said. I owe you my life. You offered protection when I had nowhere else to go. Lyra's voice was steady despite her turning emotions. Let me repay that debt. Seraphine studied her for a long moment. You're either incredibly noble or incredibly foolish. I haven't decided which yet. She turned to Kael. Summon the Silvermoon delegation. Let them see what Ashfall has gained. And pray to the moon goddess that my father's greed outweighs his suspicion. As Marcus left to make arrangements, Lyra felt the full weight of what she'd agreed to settling on her shoulders. She would stay in Ashfall. Would live in this pack house, close to her mate but unable to claim him. Would watch Kael perform the role of devoted husband to another woman while the mate bond screamed for completion. And she would do it all while knowing that Shade Walkers were coming, that her enemies would stop at nothing to capture her, and that her presence put every wolf in this pack at risk. This is insane, she whispered. Yes, Kael agreed, his amber eyes holding hers. But it's the only insanity that keeps us all alive. And that, Lyra realized, would have to be enough. The Silvermoon delegation arrived at sunset. Lyra stood in the great hall beside Kael and Seraphine, feeling like a pawn positioned on a chessboard. She'd been given formal clothing, a deep blue dress that complemented her dark hair and brought out the silver in her eyes. Seraphine had insisted on it, had personally overseen her preparation as if dressing Lyra for display was somehow easier than acknowledging what she really was. Her husband's mate. Remember, Seraphine whispered as footsteps echoed in the corridor, you're here as an honored guest. A powerful ally who chose Ashfall for protection. Nothing more. Nothing more, Lyra repeated, though the mate bond thrummed between her and Kael like a living thing, making the lie feel impossible. Alpha Theron of Silvermoon entered first, a massive wolf with silver-streaked hair and ice-blue eyes identical to his daughter's. His presence filled the room, his power nearly matching Kael's, and Lyra understood immediately why their alliance had been so crucial. These were two alphas who could have torn each other apart, who instead chose peace through political marriage. Daughter. Theron's voice was cool as he assessed Seraphine. I'm told there was an attack. A creature of shadow that threatened this pack house. There was, Seraphine confirmed. But it was handled quickly and efficiently. No lives were lost, no lasting damage done. Handled by whom? Theron's gaze swept the hall, landing on Lyra with laser focus. this one, I suspect. The stranger who radiates power she's trying very hard to suppress. Lyra felt Kael tense beside her, his wolf rising in automatic protection of his mate. She sent a pulse of calm through the bond, hoping he'd receive it, hoping he'd understand that she could handle this. I'm Lyra Ashwood, she said, stepping forward. And yes, I stopped the Shadewalker. It came hunting for me specifically. Ashwood. Theron's eyes narrowed. I don't know that bloodline. Most don't. We've been in hiding for 3 centuries. Lyra met his gaze steadily. Because my true name is Shadowborn. The delegation behind Theron erupted in whispers. Several wolves stepped back instinctively, hands moving to weapons. The Shadowborn were legend, nightmare stories told to young wolves about the bloodline that had nearly destroyed their world. Impossible, one of Theron's advisors said. The Shadowborn were exterminated. Almost, Lyra agreed. But not quite. And now the Shadewalkers want me back, want to use my blood to reopen the rifts between worlds. That's why I sought sanctuary with Ashfall. You brought this threat to my daughter's doorstep? Theron's voice was dangerously quiet. You endangered her life with your presence? I protected her life, Lyra countered. The Shadewalker would have killed everyone in this hall trying to reach me. Instead, I sent it back to the Vale before any of your daughter's pack mates were harmed. Show me. Theron's command was absolute. Prove you have the power you claim. Prove you're worth the risk you represent. Lyra looked at Kael, who gave a slight nod. They'd expected this, had prepared for it. She moved to the center of the hall, feeling every eye on her, feeling the weight of centuries of fear and hatred for her bloodline. She closed her eyes and reached for the power that lived in her veins. The silver light came easier this time, flowing from her hands like water. But instead of just light, she shaped it, molded it, creating forms that danced through the air, wolves made of pure radiance, running and playing, protecting and defending. Veil magic, Theron breathed. True Shadowborn magic, not the diluted echo we heard about in stories. I can do more than create pretty lights, Lyra said. She shifted the forms, and they became warriors, armored wolves standing in defensive positions around the hall. I can shield this entire pack house from Shadewalker attacks. Can sense when they're near, can send them back to the Vale before they materialize fully. Your daughter is safer with me here than she would be anywhere else. It was a gamble, framing her presence as protection for Seraphine rather than a threat. But Lyra could see the calculation in Theron's eyes, could see him weighing the political advantages against the risks. And what do you want in return? Theron asked. Protection isn't free. What price does Ashfall pay for harboring the last Shadowborn? My loyalty, Lyra said simply. My power in service of this pack. My knowledge of the Vale and the creatures that hunt from it. I'm not asking for charity, Alpha Theron. I'm offering an alliance. An alliance that makes Ashfall significantly more powerful than Silvermoon, one of Theron's advisors muttered. That shifts the balance between our packs. Or, Kael said, his voice cutting through the tension, it protects both our packs. The Shadewalkers don't distinguish between territories. If they break through in force, they'll devastate everything. Having someone who can fight them benefits everyone. Theron studied Kael for a long moment. You've thought about this carefully. Positioned this girl as an asset rather than a burden. His eyes flicked between Kael and Lyra's heart stopped as she saw recognition dawn. Interesting. Very interesting. He knew. Or suspected. Lyra could see it in the slight curve of his mouth, the way his gaze lingered on the space between her and Kael as if he could sense the bond that connected them. Father, Seraphine said quickly, stepping forward to draw his attention. I assure you, I'm perfectly safe here. Kael would never allow harm to come to me, and having Lyra's protection only strengthens that safety. I'm sure he wouldn't, Theron said, but his eyes remained calculating. Tell me, daughter, does your husband know about the Silvermoon law regarding mate bonds that manifest after political marriages? The room went deadly silent. Seraphine's face remained perfectly composed, but Lyra saw her fingers tremble slightly. Father, this isn't the time. On the contrary, this is exactly the time. Theron's smile was sharp. Silvermoon law states that if an alpha discovers his true mate after entering a political marriage, he has the right to claim that mate as a second, provided his first wife consents and provided the true mate proves herself worthy of the position. Ashfall doesn't follow Silvermoon law, Kael said carefully. No, but my daughter does. And she has the right to invoke it if she chooses. Theron looked at Seraphine. Do you choose to invoke it, daughter? Do you consent to your husband claiming his true mate? Every wolf in the hall was staring now, the secret that they'd hoped to keep hidden laid bare by Theron's political maneuvering. Lyra wanted to run, wanted to disappear, wanted to be anywhere but standing in the center of this disaster. But Seraphine surprised her. I do, she said clearly. I consent to Kael claiming Lyra as his second mate, provided she completes the traditional trials to prove her worth. Seraphine, Kael started, but she cut him off with a sharp gesture. Don't, she said. Don't pretend this wasn't already decided the moment she walked through our doors. My father sees it, I see it, the entire pack sees it. The only question is whether we handle it with dignity or let it tear us apart. Theron laughed, the sound rich with satisfaction. Well played, daughter. You've managed to turn a potential disaster into a political advantage. If the girl passes the trials, Ashfall gains a powerful Shadowborn mate for their alpha. If she fails, she's proven unworthy, and the mate bond can be rejected without dishonor. That's not how mate bonds work, Lyra said, her voice shaking. You can't just reject them because someone fails arbitrary tests. The trials aren't arbitrary, Theron countered. They're designed to prove that a potential mate can handle the pressures of being bound to an alpha. The political maneuvering, the constant threats, the weight of pack responsibility. If you can't survive the trials, how can you survive being Kael's mate? I never asked to be his mate, Lyra shot back. The moon goddess decided that, not me. Then prove the goddess chose wisely. Theron's voice was hard. Prove you're worthy of the bond she gave you. Or prove you're just another refugee trying to use an alpha's protection for her own gain. The accusation stung because part of Lyra wondered if it was true. Was she fighting for Kael because of genuine love, or just because the mate bond demanded it? Would she feel this desperate pull toward him if the goddess hadn't decided they were meant to be together? What are the trials? Kael asked, his voice tight with barely controlled fury. 3 tests, Theron said. First, political acumen. She must navigate a formal pack gathering, handle the social dynamics, prove she can be an asset rather than a liability in negotiations. Second, combat prowess. She must defend herself against 3 of our best warriors without using her Shadowborn magic. And third, loyalty. She must choose between her own safety and the pack's well-being. Those tests are designed for her to fail, Kael growled. They're designed to prove she's worthy, Theron corrected. If she passes, even I will support your claim to take her as a second mate. Silvermoon will recognize the bond, will honor it, will maintain our alliance despite the complexity it creates. And if she fails? Then she leaves Ashfall. Permanently. And you reject the mate bond as the moon goddess's error, as sometimes happens with incomplete or immature bonds. Theron's smile was cold. It's a generous offer, Alpha Kael. Much more generous than you'd get from most political fathers. Because refusing the trials would mean insulting Silvermoon, Lyra realized. Would mean Theron could claim that Kael had chosen a random refugee over his alliance with a powerful pack. The trials gave Kael political cover to potentially claim his mate without breaking the treaties that kept 3 packs at peace. If Lyra could pass them. When do the trials begin? Lyra asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Tomorrow, Theron said. At the full pack gathering. All 3 packs will attend, Ashfall, Silvermoon, and Crimson Vale. You'll perform in front of hundreds of wolves, all of whom will be judging whether you're worthy of being an alpha's mate. I'll be there, Lyra said. Kael caught her arm as she turned to leave. You don't have to do this. We can find another way. There is no other way. Lyra looked up at him, letting him see the determination in her eyes. Either I prove I'm worthy of being your mate, or I walk away knowing I at least tried. Those are the only options. I don't want you in danger. I've been in danger since I was born. Lyra smiled sadly. At least this time, there's something worth fighting for. She pulled away from his touch, ignoring how her wolf whimpered at the loss of contact, and walked out of the hall. Tomorrow, she would face 3 trials designed to break her. And she would pass them all. Or die trying. The first trial began at dawn. Lyra stood in the grand ballroom of the Ashfall Pack house, surrounded by wolves from 3 different packs, all of them watching her with varying degrees of suspicion, curiosity, and hostility. She wore a formal gown that Seraphine had provided, deep emerald that brought out the silver in her eyes and made her look far more regal than she felt. The trial of political acumen, Theron announced from his position beside Kael's throne. Luna Lyra will navigate a series of political scenarios, demonstrating her ability to handle the complex dynamics of being mated to an alpha. Lyra noticed he'd called her Luna already, a subtle acknowledgement that he expected her to pass. Or perhaps a test in itself, seeing how she handled the premature title. The first scenario was simple. An elder from Crimson Veil Pack approached, his expression hostile. "You're Shadowborn," he said without preamble. "Your ancestors nearly destroyed our world. Why should we trust you near our alpha?" Every eye in the room was on her, waiting to see if she'd respond with anger, defensiveness, or weakness. "You shouldn't," Lyra said calmly. "Trust must be earned, not demanded. My ancestors made terrible mistakes, opened portals that should have stayed closed, and your fear of my bloodline is justified." She held his gaze. "But I am not my ancestors. I've spent my entire life running from the Shadewalkers who want to use me to repeat those mistakes. I came to Ashfall seeking protection, yes, but I also offer my power in service of these packs. Judge me by my actions, not by blood I didn't choose." The elder studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "A diplomatic answer. We'll see if your actions match your words." The scenarios grew progressively more complex, a Luna from Silvermoon implying that Lyra was a homewrecker, a young warrior questioning whether she'd be a liability in battle, an advisor suggesting that allowing a Shadowborn to mate an alpha would bring down the moon goddess's wrath. Lyra handled each one with careful diplomacy, never defensive, never aggressive, always finding the balance between strength and humility. She could feel Kael's pride through the mate bond, could sense his wolf preening at how well she was performing. But then Theron himself approached, and the entire room went silent. "Tell me, Lyra," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. "If the Shadewalkers offered you a deal, your freedom in exchange for opening one small portal, just large enough for a single creature to pass through, would you take it?" The question was a trap. Say yes, and she'd be admitting she'd betray the packs. Say no too quickly, and she'd sound like she was lying. "No," Lyra said carefully. "Because there's no such thing as a small portal. The veil doesn't work that way. One opening, no matter how controlled, would eventually expand. The Shadewalkers would pour through, and thousands would die. My freedom isn't worth that price. Even if rejecting the deal meant your death?" "Even then." Lyra's voice was steady. "Some choices are more important than survival." Theron smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Pretty words. But everyone has a breaking point. Everyone has something they'd sacrifice the world to protect." His gaze flicked to Kael. "What's yours?" And there it was, the real trap. If she said Kael, she'd be admitting the mate bond controlled her completely, that she'd put one man above the safety of thousands. If she said nothing, she'd appear cold, disconnected, unable to love. "My breaking point," Lyra said slowly, "is watching innocent wolves die for mistakes they didn't make. That's what drives every decision I make. Not love, not fear, not even survival. The knowledge that my bloodline has caused enough suffering, and I won't add to it." "Even if it costs you your mate?" Theron pressed. "Even then." The room erupted in whispers. Lyra felt Kael's shock through the bond, felt his hurt that she'd seemingly chosen principle over him. But she held Theron's gaze, refusing to back down. "Interesting," Theron said finally. "You passed the first trial. You've demonstrated political skill and moral conviction." He paused. "Though I wonder if you understand what you've just admitted. That you'd choose duty over love. That's a dangerous position for a mate to hold." "It's the only position that keeps everyone alive," Lyra countered. The second trial followed immediately, combat prowess. They moved to the training grounds, where 3 of Silvermoon's best warriors waited. Lyra recognized the challenge immediately. These weren't just skilled fighters, they were wolves chosen specifically to counter her strengths. One was massive and brutal, designed to overpower her physically. The second was lightning fast, meant to exploit her smaller size. The third was a tactical genius, there to outthink her. And she couldn't use her Shadowborn magic. Begin. Theron's command rang out. The massive warrior charged first, expecting an easy victory. But Lyra had spent 2 years running from Shade Walkers, had learned to fight dirty, to use speed and cunning when strength wasn't an option. She dropped and rolled, letting his momentum carry him past her, then swept his legs out from under him. The fast warrior was on her before she could recover, his claws raking across her arm. Pain exploded through her, and Lyra felt her Shadowborn power surge in response, begging to be released. She gritted her teeth and shoved it down, focusing instead on reading his movements, finding the pattern in his attacks. There. He favored his right side, overcorrected when he switched directions. Lyra waited for his next lunge, then pivoted at the last second, using his own speed to slam him into the training post. 2 down. 1 to go. The tactical warrior circled her slowly, his eyes assessing every move she made. He wasn't going to attack until he'd analyzed her fighting style, found her weaknesses, exploited them ruthlessly. So Lyra changed the game. She feinted left, then right, then dropped into a defensive crouch, deliberately leaving her back exposed. The warrior took the bait, lunging for what appeared to be an opening. Lyra spun and caught him with an elbow to the throat, following up with a knee to the gut that sent him sprawling. The crowd erupted in shocked applause. Lyra stood in the center of the training ground, bleeding and exhausted, but victorious. She passes the second trial, Theron announced, though his voice held a note of surprise. You fight well for someone with no formal training. You learn fast when the alternative is death, Lyra said, accepting a towel from Marcus to wipe the blood from her arm. Indeed. Theron's expression was unreadable. Which brings us to the third trial. The trial of loyalty. He gestured, and 2 wolves dragged a struggling figure into the training ground. Lyra's blood turned to ice as she recognized him. Finn. Her younger brother. The brother she'd thought was dead for the past 2 years. No, she whispered. That's not possible. He died in the Shadewalker attack that killed our parents. He survived, Theron said. Barely. My scouts found him 3 months ago, half dead and hunted by the same creatures that pursue you. We've been keeping him safe, waiting for the right moment to reveal his existence. Finn's eyes met hers, and Lyra saw the truth there. He was alive, he was real, and he was terrified. The trial is simple, Theron continued. Your brother knows things about the Shadowborn bloodline that you've kept hidden. Secrets about your power, about what you're truly capable of. Secrets that, if revealed, would make every pack in this territory hunt you down. He smiled coldly. You can kill him now, ensuring those secrets die with him. Or you can let him live, knowing that at any moment, he could expose truths that would destroy everything you've built here. That's not a trial of loyalty, Kael snarled, his alpha power flooding the training ground. That's forcing her to choose between murder and trust. Exactly, Theron said. And her choice will reveal whether she's truly loyal to these packs, or if she's been hiding something all along. Lyra's mind raced. Finn knew things, terrible things about their bloodline. About the prophecy that said the last Shadowborn would either save the Wolf Kingdoms or destroy them completely. About the power that lay dormant in her blood, waiting to be awakened. About the fact that she wasn't just running from the Shadewalkers. She was running from what she was destined to become. Lyra, Finn said quietly, his voice hoarse. Don't do this. Don't choose them over family. I'm not choosing them over you, Lyra said, her voice breaking. I'm choosing honesty over hiding. She turned to face the assembled packs, feeling the weight of what she was about to reveal. You want to know what my brother knows? What secret I've been keeping? Don't, Finn begged. Please, sis, don't. But Lyra had made her choice. I'm not just the last Shadowborn, she said clearly. I'm the daughter of the Veil. The one the prophecy speaks of. The one who will either close the rifts permanently or open them wide enough to let hell itself pour through. She met Kael's eyes, saw the shock there. And I don't know which one I'll become. The power inside me grows stronger every day, and I don't know if I can control it. Don't know if I'll save you all or destroy you. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Theron began to laugh, the sound echoing across the training ground like a death knell. "Well played," he said. "You've just proven you're either the most honest wolf I've ever met or the most dangerous." He looked at Kael. "Still want to claim her as your mate, knowing she could end the world?" Kael crossed the distance between them in 3 strides, pulling Lyra against his chest despite the hundreds of watching wolves, despite Seraphine's presence, despite everything. "Yes," he said, his voice absolute. "Because I'd rather face the end of the world with her than face tomorrow without her." The mate bond exploded between them, and Lyra felt it click into place, felt the connection deepen from possibility to certainty. And in that moment, with Kael's arms around her and her darkest secret finally revealed, Lyra felt something shift inside her. The power she'd been suppressing woke up. And it was hungry. The power erupted from Lyra like a tidal wave. Silver light exploded outward, brighter and more violent than anything she'd summoned before. Wolves scattered, shielding their eyes as the radiance filled the training ground. Lyra felt it consuming her from the inside, the daughter of the Veil awakening, responding to Kael's claim, to the mate bond solidifying, to the truth finally being spoken. "Lyra, stop." Kael's voice seemed to come from very far away. "You're losing control." But she couldn't stop. The power had been suppressed for too long, had grown too strong waiting for release. Now it poured out of her in waves of pure Veil magic, and Lyra could feel the barrier between worlds thinning, could sense the shade walkers on the other side, pressing against the weakening veil, hungry to break through. "Somebody contain her," Theron shouted. "If she opens a rift here, we're all dead." Warriors rushed forward, but the silver light threw them back like leaves in a storm. Lyra felt herself rising off the ground, suspended by the power flowing through her, and she could see it now, the future the prophecy spoke of. 2 paths diverging, 2 possible destinies. In one, she mastered the power, learned to close the rifts permanently, saved the wolf kingdoms from the Shade Walker threat forever. In the other, she became the door. The living portal through which darkness would pour, consuming everything. And she was standing at the exact moment where she had to choose which path to take. "Lyra." Finn's voice cut through the chaos. "Remember what Mom taught us. The power responds to will, not fear. You have to choose what it becomes. Choose." As if it were that simple. As if she could just decide not to destroy the world. Lyra felt the rifts starting to tear open, felt Shade Walkers beginning to push through, drawn by the massive surge of Veil magic. She could hear their whispers, their promises: give in, let them through, end the struggle, embrace what she was meant to be. Then Kael's hand closed around her wrist. The physical contact shouldn't have worked. He was just one wolf, his touch nothing compared to the cosmic forces tearing through her. But the mate bond was stronger than physics, stronger than magic, stronger than prophecy itself. The moment he touched her, Lyra felt the power steady. Not disappear, not retreat, but stabilize. She felt his strength flowing into her through their connection, felt his absolute certainty that she could control this, that she wasn't the monster the prophecy warned about. "You are not your power," Kael said, his amber eyes locked on hers. "You are Lyra. My mate. The woman who took 30 lashes for a boy she barely knew. Who passed 3 impossible trials. Who chose honesty even when lies would have been safer." His grip tightened. "You choose what you become. Not prophecy. Not destiny. You." Lyra took a shaking breath and pulled the power back. It fought her, screaming for release, but she wrestled it down inch by agonizing inch. The silver light dimmed, the rifts began to close, and slowly, so slowly, Lyra's feet touched the ground again. When the power finally subsided, she collapsed. Kael caught her, cradling her against his chest as pack members cautiously approached. "Is she contained?" one of Theron's advisors asked nervously. "For now," Finn said, moving to kneel beside his sister. "But that was just a taste of what she's capable of. The full awakening is still coming." "When?" Theron demanded. "The next full moon." Finn's voice was grim. "That's when the prophecy says the daughter of the Veil will make her final choice. Either she closes the rifts forever, or she becomes the door that lets the Shade Walkers flood this world." 3 weeks, Seraphine said quietly. "We have 3 weeks to prepare for the end of the world or its salvation." "We should kill her now," one of the Crimson Veil wolves said. It's the only safe option. End the threat before she destroys us all. Several wolves murmured agreement, and Lyra felt them closing in, felt the shift from allies to executioners. She was too weak to fight, too drained to even stand. If they decided to kill her, there was nothing she could do to stop them. Kael rose, placing himself between Lyra and the advancing wolves. His alpha power flooded the area, forcing every wolf except Theron to their knees. "Anyone who touches my mate will answer to me," he said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "And I promise you, that's a fight you'll lose." "You'd start a war for her?" the Crimson Veil wolf asked. "Risk everything for someone who could destroy us all?" "I'd burn this world to the ground before I let you harm her," Kael said flatly. "Even if she's the threat?" Theron stepped forward, the only wolf still standing besides Kael. "Even if keeping her alive means risking every pack in your territory?" "She passed your trials," Kael countered. "She proved herself worthy. She revealed her darkest secret rather than kill her brother. And she just pulled back from the edge of destroying us all because she chose control over power. What more proof do you need?" "Proof that she'll make the right choice on the full moon." Theron's voice was hard. "Because if she doesn't, if she becomes the door instead of the key, we'll all pay the price." "Then we spend the next 3 weeks helping her prepare," Kael said. "Training her, teaching her control, making sure she's strong enough to close the rifts when the time comes." "And if she isn't?" Seraphine asked quietly. "If we train her, support her, give her everything she needs, and she still can't control it?" The question hung in the air, terrible in its implications. "Then I'll kill her myself," Kael said, and Lyra felt the words like a knife through the mate bond. "Before she can open the rifts. Before she can let the darkness through. I'll end it quickly and cleanly." "No," Lyra whispered, finding her voice. "No, Kael, you can't." "I can," he said, not looking at her. "Because I love you enough to save you from becoming the monster you fear. If it comes to that, if there's no other choice, I'll spare you the horror of watching yourself destroy the world." His voice cracked. "It's the last gift I can give you." Tears streamed down Lyra's face. "I don't want that gift." "Neither do I." Kael finally turned to face her, and the pain in his eyes was unbearable. "But the mate bond doesn't mean I put you above everyone else. It means I love you enough to make the hard choices." "How noble," a new voice said from the shadows at the edge of the training ground. "The alpha willing to kill his own mate. The daughter of the Veil too weak to control her power. This is better than I'd hoped." A figure stepped into the light, and Lyra's blood turned to ice. She knew that face. Knew those cold eyes. Knew the scent that had haunted her nightmares for 2 years. "Matthias," Finn breathed, his face going pale. "You're supposed to be dead." "I got better." Matthias smiled, and shadows curled around him like living things. "Thanks to the friends I made on the other side of the veil. The Shadewalkers are very generous to those who serve them." "You're helping them," Lyra said, horror washing through her. "You're one of the wolves trying to reopen the rifts." "Not just trying." Matthias gestured, and more figures emerged from the shadows, wolves who'd once been pack members, now transformed into something else. Their eyes glowed red, their bodies flickered between solid and shadow, and Lyra recognized what they'd become. Corrupted. Half turned into Shadewalkers themselves. "We've been preparing for this moment for years," Matthias said. "Gathering followers, making deals with the creatures beyond the veil, waiting for the daughter to awaken. And now here you are, exactly where we need you. What do you want?" Kael snarled, his wolf surging to the surface. "I want her to open the rifts on the full moon." Matthias's smile widened. "And she will. Because if she doesn't, we'll kill everyone she loves. Starting with her brother, then moving on to her mate, then burning through every wolf in all 3 packs until there's no one left." He looked at Lyra. "You can close the rifts and save the world, or open them and save your loved ones. But you can't do both." The corrupted wolves spread out, surrounding the training ground, cutting off all exits. Lyra counted at least 20 of them, all radiating the same dark power that Shadewalkers possessed. "This is your darkest hour, daughter," Matthias said. "The moment where you realize you're not strong enough, not prepared enough, not ready enough to save anyone. You'll open those rifts because you'll have no other choice." She has a choice, Kael said. She always has a choice. Does she? Matthias laughed. Because from where I'm standing, she's exactly where we want her, weak, frightened, surrounded by enemies, and bonded to an alpha who's promised to kill her if she can't control her power. Tell me, daughter, how do you see a way out of this? Lyra looked at Kael, at Finn, at Seraphine and Theron and all the wolves who'd gathered to judge her. Looked at the corrupted wolves surrounding them, at Matthias who betrayed everything for dark power, at the impossible choice ahead of her. And she realized Matthias was right. This was her darkest hour. And she had no idea how to survive it. 3 weeks, Matthias said, backing into the shadows. 3 weeks until the full moon. Spend them wisely, daughter. Because one way or another, those rifts are opening. The only question is whether you open them to save your loved ones, or I open them through your corpse. He vanished, and the corrupted wolves melted back into darkness with him. Leaving Lyra standing in a training ground surrounded by wolves who didn't trust her, bonded to a mate who'd promised to kill her, and facing a future where every choice led to disaster. What do we do? Finn asked quietly. We prepare, Kael said, his voice hard with determination. We train. We plan. We find a way to beat them. And if we can't? Seraphine asked. Kael looked at Lyra, and through the mate bond, she felt his resolve, protect her, save her, or end her suffering before the darkness could claim her. Then we pray to the moon goddess for a miracle, he said. Because that's all we have left. The next 3 weeks were brutal. Kael pushed Lyra harder than she'd ever been pushed before. Every morning began before dawn, training in the clearing behind the pack house where she'd first lost control. Every day, he forced her to call up her shadowborn power, to hold it, to shape it, to prove she could master what lived inside her. And every evening, she collapsed exhausted while he held her, whispering promises he might not be able to keep. Again, Kael commanded on the 18th day. They were alone in the clearing, the full moon just 3 nights away. Summon the power and hold it for 10 minutes without losing control. I can't, Lyra said, her body shaking with exhaustion. I've done this 20 times today already. There's nothing left. There's always more. Your enemies won't care if you're tired. They won't wait for you to be rested and ready. Kael's voice was harsh, but she felt his concern through the mate bond. Again. Lyra closed her eyes and reached for the power. It came reluctantly now, worn down by constant use, but it came. Silver light flared around her hands, and she fought to keep it steady, to maintain control. 5 minutes passed. Then 8. At 9.5 minutes, something shifted. The power surged, trying to break free, and Lyra felt the rifts responding, felt the Shadewalkers pressing against the barrier between worlds. Hold it, Kael said. You're stronger than the power. Prove it. Lyra gritted her teeth and pushed back, wrestling the surge down through sheer force of will. 10 minutes. She'd made it. The power subsided, and she opened her eyes to find Kael watching her with something like pride. Better, he said. You held longer than yesterday. It's not enough. Lyra's voice cracked. 3 nights from now, I'll have to hold it for hours. Maybe days. 10 minutes isn't enough. Then we keep training. Kael pulled her into his arms, and Lyra let herself lean against him, let herself take comfort in his strength. We don't stop until you're ready. What if I'm never ready? Then I keep my promise. His voice was quiet, terrible. And I end it before you can become what Matthias wants. Lyra pulled back to look at him. Do you really think you could do it? Kill your own mate? I don't know. Kael's honesty hurt worse than a lie would have. But I'll do what needs to be done to protect these packs. Even if it destroys me. That's not love, Lyra said. That's duty. With you, they're the same thing. His hand cupped her face. Loving you means protecting you from yourself if necessary. Even if the cost is both our lives. Before Lyra could respond, Finn burst into the clearing, his face urgent. We have a problem, he said. Matthias sent a message. He's taken hostages, 20 wolves from the border patrol. Says if you don't come to him tonight, alone, he starts killing them one by one. It's a trap, Kael said immediately. Obviously. Finn handed over a blood-stained letter. But he's not bluffing. There's a finger attached to the message. The patrol leaders. Lyra's stomach turned. We have to save them. We don't have to do anything, he says, Kael countered. We send a strike force, rescue the hostages by force. He anticipated that. Finn's expression was grim. Says if he sees more than Lyra approaching, he kills all 20 immediately. And he's got them in the old mining tunnels on the border. Lots of places to hide, easy to execute hostages before any rescue force could reach them. Then we find another way, Kael said. There is no other way. Lyra straightened her spine. I have to go. I can't let innocent wolves die because of me. That's exactly what he wants. He'll capture you, use you to open the rifts early, before you're ready to resist. Kael gripped her shoulders. I won't let you walk into that trap. You don't have a choice. Lyra met his eyes. This is what being your mate means. Protecting your pack, even when it's dangerous. Even when it costs me everything. Lyra. You taught me that duty and love are the same thing, she said quietly. Now let me prove I learned the lesson. Kael stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled her close and kissed her, desperate and claiming, pouring everything he felt through the mate bond. When they broke apart, his voice was rough. If you go, you don't go alone. I'll follow at a distance, stay out of sight. The moment you're in danger, I'm coming in. He'll see you. I don't care. Kael's eyes blazed amber. You're my mate. I won't let you face this alone. The mining tunnels were dark and cold, lit only by the silver glow emanating from Lyra's hands. She'd come alone as Matthias demanded, though she knew Kael was following somewhere behind, his presence a comfort through the mate bond. Hello, daughter. Matthias stepped from the shadows, his corrupted form flickering between solid and smoke. I knew you'd come. That's your weakness, you care too much about wolves who mean nothing to you. Where are the hostages? Lyra demanded. Safe. For now. Matthias gestured deeper into the tunnels. Come with me. We have much to discuss before the full moon. Lyra followed him through winding passages, her senses alert for traps. But Matthias made no move to attack, just led her deeper underground until they reached a vast chamber. 20 wolves hung from chains, unconscious but alive. And surrounding them were at least 50 corrupted wolves, all with those burning red eyes. You lied, Lyra said. You said I'd come alone. I said you'd come. I never said I'd honor the terms. Matthias smiled. Your Alpha is following you, by the way. About 3 minutes behind. My scouts have been tracking him since you left the pack house. Lyra's heart stopped. This was never about the hostages. Oh, it was. But not as bait for you. Matthias's smile widened. As bait for him. I need you to open the rifts, daughter. And I've learned that the only way to force your hand is to threaten what you love most. He gestured, and corrupted wolves melted into the shadows, heading back the way Lyra had come. Heading for Kael. No. Lyra lunged forward, but Matthias caught her wrist, his corrupted strength far greater than any normal wolf's. Too late. By now, they've surrounded him. 50 against 1, even for an alpha, is suicide. Matthias pulled her close. So here's the deal, open a rift right now, give the Shade Walkers a door into this world, and I'll call off the attack. Your mate lives. And if I refuse? Then they tear him apart, slowly, while you feel every moment of his death through your mate bond. Matthias's eyes glowed red. Imagine it, hours of agony, his screams echoing through your soul, knowing you could have saved him with a single choice. Lyra felt Kael through the bond, felt him suddenly realize he'd walked into a trap. Felt his determination to fight anyway, to protect her even at the cost of his own life. Don't you dare, she sent through the bond. Don't you dare sacrifice yourself for me. Too late, Kael's response came. I love you. That means I die before I let them use you to end the world. Tears streamed down Lyra's face as she felt the battle begin. Felt Kael fighting with everything he had, his alpha power blazing, but there were too many. They were overwhelming him, wearing him down. Decide quickly, Matthias said. Every second you hesitate, your mate gets weaker. How long before they land a killing blow? Lyra closed her eyes, feeling Kael's pain, his determination, his love pouring through the bond. He was buying her time, giving her a chance to escape, to survive, to somehow find another way. He was dying for her. And she realized with sudden, crystalline clarity what she had to do. "I'll open the rift," she said. "Lyra, no." Kael's voice in her mind was anguished. "Don't do this." "But not the way you think," Lyra continued, looking at Matthias. "I'll open it, and I'll go through. I'll give myself to the Shadewalkers in exchange for Kael's life and the safety of the hostages." Matthias frowned. "That's not the deal." "It's the only deal you're getting." Lyra's voice was steady despite her tears. "You want the daughter of the Veil? Fine. Take me. But you let everyone else go. Every hostage, every wolf, including my mate. And why would I agree to that when I can just let my wolves kill your alpha and force you to open the rifts anyway? Because if he dies, I'll have nothing left to lose." Lyra let her power surge, silver light filling the chamber. "I'll open every rift I can reach and let chaos consume us all, including you. At least then, I'll die knowing I took you with me." Matthias studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "You're bluffing. Try me." The standoff stretched for heartbeats that felt like hours. Lyra could feel Kael weakening, could feel him bleeding, fighting, refusing to fall even as the corrupted wolves tore into him. "Fine," Matthias finally said. "You go through the rift, I call off the attack, everyone goes home alive." "I need to hear you give the order," Lyra said. "Now." Matthias pulled out a radio and spoke into it. "Stand down. Let the Alpha go." Through the bond, Lyra felt the attackers retreating, felt Kael's confusion and fury. "What did you do?" he demanded through their connection. "Lyra, what did you agree to?" "I saved you," she said simply. "That's what mates do." She turned to Matthias. "Open the rift." He gestured, and reality tore open, a gash in the world that led to darkness, to the Veil itself, to the realm where Shadewalkers waited. Lyra took a step toward it. "Lyra, stop." Kael's voice echoed through the chamber as he burst through the entrance, bloody and battered but alive. "Don't you dare." But she was already moving, already stepping through the rift. The last thing she felt before the darkness swallowed her was Kael's anguish through the mate bond. And the last thing she thought was, "I'm sorry." Then the veil claimed her, and everything went black. The veil was not darkness. It was everything and nothing simultaneously, a realm between worlds where reality bent and twisted, where time moved differently, where the laws of physics bowed to the will of consciousness itself. Lyra fell through layers of existence, each one stripping away another piece of her understanding. She saw the past, her ancestors opening the first rifts, their hubris thinking they could control what lay beyond. She saw possible futures, worlds consumed by Shadewalkers, reality itself collapsing under the weight of darkness. And she saw the truth. The daughter of the Veil wasn't meant to open the rifts or close them. She was meant to become the Veil itself. To merge with it, to transform into the living barrier between worlds, sealing the rifts from the inside by sacrificing her physical form forever. "Welcome, daughter." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. A Shadewalker materialized before her, but this one was different, ancient, powerful, its form stable rather than flickering. "I am the first shadow. The one who made the original bargain with your ancestors." "Bargain?" Lyra forced herself to speak despite the disorientation. "They opened the rifts by accident." "No accident. They sought power to protect their packs, and I offered it, the ability to walk between worlds, to command shadow and light." The first shadow circled her. "But power always has a price." "They became addicted, opened too many rifts, let too many of my kind through. When the wolf kingdoms tried to close the rifts by force, your ancestors resisted. That's when the war truly began. And now you want me to finish what they started. I want you to make the choice they couldn't." The first shadow's red eyes gleamed. "Become the Veil. Merge with the barrier between worlds. You'll exist in both realms simultaneously, neither alive nor dead, keeping the rifts sealed forever through your own transformation." "That's the prophecy," Lyra breathed. "The daughter of the Veil doesn't close the rifts or open them. She becomes them." "Yes. But there's another option. The first shadow gestured, and Matthias appeared, or a projection of him. Your betrayer offers a different path. Open the rifts wide, let my kind flood into your world, rule beside us as the queen of a new order. Your mate would bow to you, your enemies would burn, and you would never fear death or weakness again. That's not living, Lyra said. That's becoming a monster. Is it? The first shadow tilted its head. Or is sacrificing yourself, becoming a living barrier, leaving behind everyone you love forever, the true monstrosity? At least as a queen, you'd still exist. Still feel. Still love. The temptation was real. Lyra felt it pulling at her, the promise of power without sacrifice, of keeping Kael and still saving the world, of having everything instead of losing it all. Then she felt Kael through the mate bond, felt him screaming her name, felt him tearing at the closed rift trying to reach her. And she realized the truth. Love wasn't about holding on. It was about letting go when holding on would destroy everything. I choose the veil, Lyra said. I choose to become the barrier. You understand what that means? The first shadow's voice held something like respect. You'll cease to exist as you are. Your consciousness will be spread across the boundary between worlds, aware but unable to act, present but unable to touch. Your mate will feel you through the bond but never reach you. It's a special kind of torture. It's also the only way to save them all. Lyra's voice was steady. So I choose it. Then let it begin. The transformation started immediately. Lyra felt her physical form beginning to dissolve, felt herself spreading out like water poured across glass. The pain was excruciating, every cell in her body screaming as it was torn apart and remade into something new. But through it all, she held on to the mate bond. Held on to Kael's presence like an anchor, even as everything else fell away. Lyra. His voice cut through the veil like a blade. I'm coming for you. No, she tried to say, but she had no voice anymore, no mouth to form words. She sent the feeling through the bond instead, love, goodbye, forgiveness for what she was about to do. She felt Kael's fury, his refusal to accept her sacrifice. And then she felt something impossible. Kael was forcing his way into the veil. Impossible, the first shadow hissed. No wolf can enter this realm physically. The transformation would kill them instantly. But Kael wasn't just any wolf. He was an alpha, powered by love and mate bond and sheer stubborn determination. Lyra felt him tearing through reality itself, felt the veil trying to unmake him as it had unmade her. And then he was there, his physical form intact but flickering, unstable, seconds from dissolution. Found you, he gasped, his hands reaching for what remained of her form. You have to leave. Lyra's consciousness screamed at him through the bond. This place will destroy you. Then we'll be destroyed together. Kael's amber eyes found hers, or what was left of her eyes, and the love there was absolute. I told you, I'd rather burn this world down than lose you. That includes the veil itself. This is madness, the first shadow said. You'll both die, and the rifts will remain open. Everything she sacrificed will be for nothing. Or, a new voice said, and Seraphine stepped through the rift behind Kael, her form already beginning to dissolve, we offer a different solution. Seraphine. Kael spun. What are you doing here? Saving my husband's mate. Strange how life works out. Seraphine's smile was pained but genuine. I've been researching the Shadowborn prophecy since Lyra arrived. There's a variant text, older than the others, that speaks of a different path. What path? Lyra managed to ask. 3 wolves, not 1. The daughter of the veil to become the barrier. Her mate to anchor her to the living world. And a willing third to share the burden. Seraphine looked at Kael. I'm that third. The political wife who failed to give you love but can still give you this, a way to save her. I don't understand, Kael said. If I merge with the veil too, become part of the barrier, I can help Lyra hold it closed. Take half the burden, let her consciousness remain stronger, more present. Seraphine's form was dissolving faster now, the veil claiming her. And you, bound by mate bond to Lyra, can anchor both of us. Keep us connected to the living world so we don't fade completely. That will kill you, Lyra said. You'll be trapped in the veil forever, just like me. Yes. Seraphine's voice was peaceful. But I'll finally be useful. Finally give Kael something real instead of just political appearances. She looked at him. I never loved you the way a mate should. But I respected you. Honored you. And this is my final gift, saving the woman who does love you the way you deserve. Seraphine, you don't have to do this, Kael said, his voice breaking. I do. Because 5 years of marriage means something, even if it wasn't love. It means I care about your happiness. Seraphine's form was barely solid now. Take care of her, Kael. Love her enough for both of us. Before anyone could stop her, Seraphine dissolved completely, her consciousness spreading across the veil, intertwining with Lyra's, forming a lattice of power that began sealing every rift simultaneously. Lyra felt the change immediately. With Seraphine sharing the burden, the pain lessened. Her consciousness remained more intact, more aware. And through Kael's bond, she felt anchored, tethered to the living world. Is it working? Kael asked the first shadow. Yes. The ancient creature sounded almost impressed. The rifts are closing. Permanently. The veil will be sealed, guarded by 2 consciousnesses working in perfect harmony, anchored by a mate bond that transcends death itself. It paused. But the Alpha must return to the living world. He cannot remain here. I'm not leaving her, Kael said. You must. If you stay, you'll dissolve completely, and the anchor will break. Then both women will fade into nothing, and the rifts will reopen. The first shadow's voice was almost gentle. This is the sacrifice, Alpha. You must live without them, while they exist between worlds, aware but untouchable. That's not living, Kael said, his voice raw. It's the only way everyone survives, Lyra told him through their bond. Please, Kael. Go back. Live. Lead the pack. Be the Alpha they need. And leave you trapped here forever? You won't be leaving me. Lyra wrapped her consciousness around him like an embrace. I'll always be with you through the bond. Every moment, every breath, you'll feel me. It's not the life we wanted, but it's the one we have. Kael stood frozen, torn between staying and going, between love and duty. Then he made his choice. He kissed the space where Lyra's form flickered, pouring every ounce of love through their bond. I'll live, he promised. I'll lead. I'll honor what you've given me. But every day, every moment, I'll be loving you. Feeling you. Knowing you saved us all. That's all I need, Lyra whispered. The veil began pulling Kael back, returning him to the living world. Lyra felt him fighting it, felt him trying to hold on, but the first shadow was right, he couldn't stay. I love you, Kael said as he faded. Forever. Beyond death. Beyond the veil itself. I love you too, Lyra called after him. Until the stars go dark. Then he was gone, returned to the living world. And Lyra remained in the veil, her consciousness spread across the barrier between worlds, Seraphine's presence beside her, both of them holding the rifts closed through sheer force of will and sacrifice. But the mate bond remained. Lyra could feel Kael on the other side, alive, whole, grieving but surviving. And somehow, impossibly, that was enough. 3 months later, the Ashfall Pack gathered under the full moon. Kael stood at the center of the ceremonial grounds, his pack assembled around him, Silver Moon wolves who'd stayed after Theron formally dissolved the political alliance, Crimson Veil members who'd joined seeking the protection of an Alpha bonded to the Veil itself, and his original Ashfall wolves who'd learned to honor the sacrifice their Luna had made. Tonight we honor the fallen, Kael said, his voice carrying across the grounds. Luna Seraphine, who gave her life to save us all. And Luna Lyra, who became something greater than any of us to seal the rifts forever. He felt Lyra's presence through the mate bond, felt her consciousness pressing against his, unable to speak but able to feel. 3 months of learning to communicate through emotions and impressions, 3 months of discovering that love could exist even when touch was impossible. They're not truly gone, Finn said, stepping forward. He'd stayed in Ashfall, had become Kael's closest advisor, the bridge between the Alpha and his veil-bound mate. I can sense my sister's presence. She watches over us, protects us from any shade walker foolish enough to approach the barrier. As does Seraphine, Marcus added. Her father asked me to convey his gratitude. She found more purpose in death than she ever found in her political marriage. That's a gift he'll honor for the rest of his life. Kael closed his eyes and reached through the bond. Can you hear them, Lyra? Hear how the pack speaks your name with reverence instead of fear? The response came as a wave of warmth, of pride, of love so deep it made his chest ache. She hears, Kael said, opening his eyes. And she wants you to know she doesn't regret her choice. That saving all of you was worth any price. A young wolf stepped forward, one of the pups Lyra had befriended during her short time in the pack. Can she still see us? Know what we're doing? Yes, Kael said gently. She watches through the veil. Sees everything that happens in our world. She just can't touch it anymore. Then I want her to see this. The pup placed a drawing at the base of the memorial stone they'd erected, a crude but heartfelt image of a silver wolf with stars in her fur. I drew Luna Lyra the way I remember her. So she knows we won't forget. Other pack members came forward, adding their own tributes, flowers, carved tokens, written messages. Within an hour, the memorial was covered in offerings, each one a testament to how much Lyra had meant in the brief time she'd been with them. Kael felt her emotions through the bond, overwhelmed, humbled, loved. They see you, he told her silently. See what you were and what you became. And they love you for both. The ceremony continued late into the night. Pack members shared stories, memories of Lyra's kindness and Seraphine's political brilliance, weaving both women into the pack's oral history. By the time the moon began to set, Lyra and Seraphine had become more than just Lunas. They'd become legends. As the pack dispersed, Finn approached Kael. How are you really handling this? The bond that can't be completed, the mate you can't touch? Some days are harder than others, Kael admitted. But she's still here. I feel her every moment. That's more than most wolves get when they lose their mates. And the loneliness? Is worth it. Because the alternative was watching her become a monster or losing her completely. Kael looked up at the stars. This way, she's still mine. Still present. Still my Luna, even if she rules from the veil instead of the pack house. She's proud of you, Finn said quietly. I can sense it through our blood connection. Proud of how you've led, how you've honored her sacrifice. I hope so. Kael's voice roughened. Because I'm doing this for her. Every decision, every choice, I make wondering what she would want. What she would say if she could speak. A sudden pulse through the mate bond made Kael gasp. It was stronger than usual, more focused, almost like words. Kael. Lyra's voice, faint but unmistakable, echoed in his mind. Can you hear me? His heart stopped. Lyra? You can speak? Barely. Seraphine and I have been learning to channel our consciousness through the bond. It takes incredible effort, but we can manage a few words occasionally. Her presence wrapped around him like an embrace. I wanted to tell you, I'm okay. Not happy, not complete, but okay. And I'm so proud of what you've built here. Tears streamed down Kael's face. I miss you. Every second of every day, I miss you. I know. I miss you too. Miss your touch, your voice, your physical presence. Her voice wavered. But this is what we have. And it's enough, Kael. It has to be enough. Is it? Really? Yes. Her certainty flowed through the bond. Because I can still feel your love. Still sense your devotion. Still know that even though we're separated by the veil itself, we're together in the ways that matter most. I love you, Kael said. Beyond reason, beyond death, beyond everything. I love you too. And I always will. Lyra's presence began to fade, the effort of speaking taking its toll. Be happy, Kael. Lead the pack. Find joy where you can. That's what I want for you. That's what will make this sacrifice worth it. Lyra, wait. But she was gone, her consciousness retreating back into the veil, leaving only the constant hum of the mate bond to prove she'd ever been there. Kael stood alone in the clearing, tears drying on his face, and felt something shift inside him. The grief would never fully leave. The longing for what they'd lost would always ache. But he would live. Would lead. Would honor her sacrifice by becoming the alpha she'd believed he could be. 5 years later, Ashfall had become the strongest pack in the territories. Wolves came from everywhere seeking sanctuary, drawn by stories of the Alpha bonded to the Veil, protected by a Luna who watched from between worlds. The pack had tripled in size, had formed alliances with 7 other territories, had become a beacon of hope in a world that had once teetered on the edge of darkness. Kael stood in his study, reviewing reports, when he felt a familiar pulse through the mate bond. "Hello, love," he said aloud, smiling. "Come to check on me?" Warmth flooded the bond, Lyra's version of laughter. Over the years, they developed their own language, pulses of emotion, impressions of concepts, the occasional word when she had the strength to manifest it. It wasn't the life they'd dreamed of, but it was theirs. And it was enough. "The pack is thriving," Kael told her, knowing she could see everything he saw through their connection. "We brought in 15 new refugees this week. Found homes for all of them, jobs, purpose. They're grateful for the protection." Pride pulsed through the bond. "Finn asked about you today," Kael continued. "Wanted to know if you could sense his daughter. Your niece. She's beautiful, Lyra. Has your eyes, your gentle spirit. I told him you were watching over her, keeping her safe from the Veil." Love and longing mixed together, so intense it made Kael's chest ache. "I know," he whispered. "I know you wish you could hold her. Meet her. But you're still her aunt, still part of her life, even if she can't see you. Finn tells her stories about you every night. She'll grow up knowing who you were and what you sacrificed." Movement in the corner of his vision made Kael turn. A shimmer in the air, barely visible, but there, Lyra's form, manifested for just a moment through incredible effort. She looked exactly as he remembered, dark hair, silver eyes, that gentle smile that had captured his heart the moment they'd met. She was translucent, flickering, but present. Real. "Lyra." Kael crossed to her, reaching out even though he knew his hand would pass through her form. "You shouldn't waste energy manifesting. You need to maintain the barrier. Worth it." Her voice was faint, ghostly. "To see you. To let you see me. You're beautiful." Kael's voice broke. "Still the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Liar." But she smiled. "I'm a ghost, Kael. A memory made of light. You're my mate. My Luna. My heart." He knelt before her flickering form. "And I love you just as much now as I did the day you walked into my pack house." Tears shimmered in her translucent eyes. "I can't stay long. Maintaining physical form takes too much power." "Then listen quickly." Kael pulled out a small box. Inside was a ring, silver, carved with symbols that represented the Veil, embedded with a stone that glowed with the same light as Lyra's shadowborn power. "I made this. Poured my own blood and devotion into the metal. It's bonded to our mate connection. Kael, I can't wear it. I have no physical form to put it on. You don't need to wear it. Just carry it with you in the Veil." He set the ring on the floor where her feet would have been. "Let it be a symbol. A promise that even though we're separated by death and distance and the barrier between worlds, you're still my wife. Still my everything." Lyra's form flickered as she reached down, and impossibly, her translucent fingers closed around the ring. "It's beautiful. And I'll treasure it forever. That's all I ask." Her form was fading now, the effort of maintaining it exhausting her. "I have to go. But know this, Kael, I've never regretted my choice. Never wished I'd chosen differently. Saving you, saving them all, was worth every moment of separation. And I'll spend every day of my life proving that sacrifice wasn't wasted," Kael promised. "You already have." Her voice was barely a whisper now. "I'm so proud of you. So grateful the moon goddess chose you for me. Even if we only got a few weeks together physically, it was worth more than a lifetime with anyone else." "I love you," Kael said. "Until the stars burn out. I love you too. Until the veil itself crumbles." Then she was gone, faded back into the barrier between worlds. But the mate bond remained, strong and constant, a golden thread connecting them across the impossible distance. And through it, Kael felt her love, her pride, her absolute certainty that they'd made the right choice. He returned to his desk, to his responsibilities, to the pack that needed him. But part of him remained in the veil, wrapped around his mate, holding on to the love that death itself couldn't break. Their souls were bound. His life was shared between two worlds. And somehow, impossibly, that was enough. Thank you so much for joining me on Kael and Lyra's heartbreaking, beautiful journey, beautiful souls. If this story of impossible love, ultimate sacrifice, and devotion that transcends even death itself touched your heart, smash that like button and drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. Was it when the mate bond first ignited? The trials that proved Lyra's worth? Or that final sacrifice that saved them all? And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and join our pack of werewolf romance lovers. We've got so many more epic tales of fated mates and forbidden bonds coming your way. Until next time, remember, true love doesn't end with death. It transforms into something eternal. This is your girl, signing off.